wake up call DT. Welcome here to Wake Up DT. Hope you're having a fantastic morning this morning where sports truly meets that thing called life. And we have had nothing short of a very tumultuous morning here inside of the studio, and things happen, right? Things happen, and sometimes it feels like Murphy's Law, but, you got to be positive, and you got to find the good. So, I think that it's challenging to do that. It's very challenging sometimes to find the good. And today in the studio, there's a couple things I wanted to throw in the garbage. And so, but I'm happy to be here with you, and I'm happy to have this time with you. So I hope that you're doing well, and I hope that you are making the most of your time out there and just truly enjoying the time that we have. So 4 West Water Street, 208 North Townsend Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, as well as inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital, 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, and they just added their newest location and their first ever drive-through at the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road in North Syracuse, New York. And you can get out to them, and you should today, to enjoy their indoor and outdoor seating, as well as their first full, complete, beautiful, awesome drive-through. You can go to Cafe Cubal's newest location, their drive-through location on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road, Sweetheart Corner, as we all know it here in central and upstate New York, in North Syracuse. So make sure you head out there today. Like I said, here broadcasting for you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. It is where sports meets that thing called life, and we appreciate you being here, celebrating that with us here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And of course, you are listening on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage. And you are watching and listening on Facebook Live on facebook.com/livenowdt, and on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Full jam-packed show waiting for you here today, and excited to have these wonderful guests join us inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. We'll be joined in hour number 1 at 9:15 a.m. Eastern Time by Tom Burnett of the Southland Conference. The Southland here with us today, and we will be joined in hour number 2 by Jim Schaus. Jim Schaus joining us as the commissioner of the SoCon Conference, the Southern Conference, which is celebrating its 100-year anniversary here this year from crazy, 1921 to 2021, one of the original conferences of collegiate athletics when they used to be just named after regions, and it was simply called the Southern. So we'll be joined by Jim Schaus in hour number 2 at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time, and we'll round out the show as we always do every single Tuesday with the ingredients to success, proudly presented to you by Avicolli's on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, and our exclusive home for our Liverpool Warriors athletic program shows. So we're on-site, on location once a month with Liverpool Warriors athletics. So plenty of good stuff coming up, a lot of great things to share with you, and very, very happy to be here with you this morning. So thank you for ad-libbing with us this week. We started off the week with a broadcast on-site, on location at Cafe Cubal, and we are now back inside of the Cafe Cubal studios doing our thing, and we have a fantastic week of shows coming up for you. I'm very excited about the guests we're going to have and all the things we're going to get to do here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So I appreciate you being here, appreciate you spending some time with us, and appreciate you doing everything that you can to go out there and be good to yourself and be good to others. So a quick one right now. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. And like I said, I know everybody, different people have different religions, and I have mine, so I respect yours, and I hope that you respect mine as well. So with that being said, I want to say a prayer for everybody to be safe and healthy and happy today, to make the most of their lives, and to do the best that you can to truly be positive and to listen to God's voice, to follow God. God, may you guide us and guard us, and everyone that needs a miracle, may we have it, and may love always prevail, and may we do the best we can with everything that we have. So In Jesus' most precious name, I pray and I hope for people to, for us all to have a beautiful day and to always rise above our adversity, and may peace and true love and goodness guide our way. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So, thank you for doing that with me here today. You know, I mean, we all have our moments, right? We all have our moments, and Lord knows I had mine this morning with my computer and its ridiculousness. So, my computer and the mic and everything. So, you never know what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. You just know that sometimes things happen, and you have to be prepared. And you know, we were, and you know, thanks be to God. You know, I am prepared for, you know, those situations where something's not working the way that it's. And so I want to just let you know this morning that, you know, sometimes things happen and they get frustrating, and it's how we handle them, how we approach them, that is going to decide how our day is going to go and how we're going to go and how things are going to go. So stay positive, stay well. We will prevail together, and I'm so happy to have you here today. Tom Burnett of the Southland Conference will be joining us in just a second here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. So stay right here with us inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, as I'm very excited to be able to welcome for the first time ever the leader of the Southland Conference, and that being Mr. Tom Burnett, their commissioner, coming up right after this fast break. Avicolli is located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, is the home of our exclusive Liverpool Athletics on-site, on-location show once a month through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We are so thankful to work with Avicolli's and to be able to bring you Liverpool Athletics on-site, on-location to support the student athletes, the coaches, the peers, the entire community, obviously the parents and the guardians and the families of these wonderful people. So we look forward to seeing you every single month at Avicolli's, and you can head out to Avicolli's Tuesday through Sunday, as they are closed on Monday. Can head out there Tuesday through Sunday to grab yourself the veal parmesan sub, which is my fave, because nobody does veal like Avicolli's, as well as the margarita pizza, their antipasto, and everything that they have at Avicolli's. Go out and grab lunch, dinner, and drinks, and of course drink responsibly at Avicolli's on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York. You can go to myavicollis.com, and you can also, for takeout, delivery, and catering, call the number 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100. Canine Camp Dog Daycare and Canine Campground Dog Boarding, the two places to bring your furry-loving friend when you need them to stay there for either the day or for a few days. If you're going on vacation or you just got a lot of stuff going on in the house, Doggy Daycare is there for you at Canine Camp Dog Daycare on 221 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, right off of Bridge Street itself onto Old Bridge Street at 228 Old Bridge Street. And, of course, the campground is right down the road on 242 Johnson Street for longer-term care for your furry-loving friend. Folks, you know, growing up, we had to trust friends or bring our dogs with us. And now, with the evolution of these beautiful, beautiful central and upstate New York businesses like Canine Camp Dog Daycare and Canine Campground Dog Boarding, we have the opportunity to feel safe and feel well. And I don't trust anybody outside of Canine Camp Dog Daycare and Canine Campground Dog Boarding to take care of my little one as well as yours, and that's why we proudly send you their way right off of Bridge Street in East Syracuse. PB&J's Lunchbox, located for you on 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York, is your home for the award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich, as well as so much more. What an amazing menu that has traditional favorites as well as awesome new collaborations and combinations of food to only have a little party with your taste buds. PB&J's Lunchbox, so unique, it's so awesome, and you find them at so many different events in central and upstate New York thanks to their food truck. Now you can find them in their street side cafe, PB&J's Lunchbox, 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. You can find your way out to Victory on 791 West Genesee Street in Skinny Atlas, And when you get out to Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, make sure you let them know that Wake Up Call sent you. You can call for an appointment at 315-685-7544. That's 315-685-7544, a place I've trusted for almost a decade in helping me to be well and stay healthy. So thank you to them for all that they do. With that being stated, we're back here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life, and so very happy to have you here with us. It's now time to get into my conversation with Mr. Tom Burnett of the Southland Conference. And so we gladly, proudly, and very happily welcome Tom Burnett to the show here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where we can celebrate the Southland Conference for the first time ever, and very happy to do that. So with that being said, we now jump into that conversation with Tom Burnett. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, as well as on internet streaming radio all across the world on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, and of course here for your viewing and listening pleasure on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, carried on facebook.com/livenowdt, and on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. It is truly my honor and my privilege for the first time ever to have the Southland Conference here on the broadcast, and their commissioner, Tom Burnett, joining me here today to discuss the conference, the leader of the Southland, and I appreciate him so very much. It's a conference that I've watched from afar, and now we get to bring them front and center, which is truly a wonderful thing to do here inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios on Wake Up Call. So without further ado, let's bring in Tom Burnett. Tom, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Dan. Great to be with you.
Absolutely, and I appreciate you being here. And Tom, first and foremost, bring me into your story and how you found yourself as the leader of this conference.
Well, I don't know how much time we have, so I'll be as brief as I can, but I appreciate you asking that, Dan. My start in this business really started when I was a student at Louisiana Tech. I latched on to a student SID position in that department back when the women's basketball team was the number one program in the country, really good, what was then known as 1AA football, and we happened to have a pretty good men's basketball team with a guy named Carl Malone who was playing. So this was all back in the mid-'80s when I kind of found my niche and kind of figured out what I wanted to do. That led to conference work. I went to work what was then known as the American South Conference in the late 80s. It merged into the Sun Belt, early 90s, and I was at the Sun Belt until late 2002 when I got this opportunity here at the Southland to succeed Greg Sankey. And now, hard to believe, but in my 19th year as the Southland Conference Commissioner, it's been a wonderful ride and had some opportunities to do a lot of things. You know, we host the FCS championship game here in Frisco, Texas, where we're based. I've been involved with a lot of other NCAA events, serve on the NCAA men's basketball committee currently, which is a real thrill and privilege. And, just like everyone else these days, just trying to get through what we hope are the last days of COVID and, certainly kind of motor forward with our league and doing what's best for our student athletes.
You know, you talk about, like you said, now 19 years later, but taking over for, the former commissioner of the conference and Greg Sankey, who is now with the SEC. You know, when you look at that and you see that transition and that it's been almost 2 decades and that Greg used to be here and is still a commissioner in the South, what is that? How surreal is that to you to kind of see that transition? He's still, a commissioner, but in a different place, but still in the South. You come in, and does it really feel like 19 years, or how do you take all of this, the world, and put it together of where he was, now you're there, he's somewhere else, and I mean, does it kind of just feel like a whirlwind still, or how do you take it?
Yeah, it does, Dan. In no way does it feel like 19 years, but that is what it is, and I will tell you, coming into this position, you always say, well, whenever I do leave, I want to leave it in a better position than I found it. The challenge with that was who my predecessor was, and Greg Sankey, who has, been a great leader in college athletics for a long time, even before he was the SEC commissioner. And certainly he had this conference in a really good, strong spot. And, we've been able to pick up some things, and things change over 19 years. We do things differently with championships. We have different kind of television these days than we had back in the day. We're trying to do other things for student athletes that we, weren't even thinking about 19 years ago. So things have changed. Certainly still see Greg as with great admiration in what he does. Certainly at a different level at the SEC, but stay close to Greg, and actually we partner with him on some officiating programs, and really stay close. And in fact, all of the commissioners will be meeting in person next week in Chicago for the first time in quite a while, like everyone else, and look forward to catching up with Greg and the others.
And you talk about still having a relationship with Greg. How would you describe that relationship and what it's been like over the years?
Well, it's really been good, because Greg's always, been there when I've needed to call him, whether it's, trying to get a little bit of history on an issue, a subject, something that, he may have experienced here, but maybe because it's been so long, it may not be so much about Greg's Southland experience, but more about his, day-to-day interactions, certainly at that level of FBS football, but also his interactions with the NCAA. Certainly, no one has more conference-wide success than the SEC. So, you really, from a point of admiration, you are really looking to, see how Greg may handle this or handle that. But and all of us have challenges. His challenges may be a little different than ours, but certainly he's someone who has learned and grown through his career, and that's it's always reassuring to touch base with him and get his feedback on issues that are of importance, both large and small.
And to see how you've grown here as the commissioner of the Southland Conference, like I said, of almost 2 decades, what have you learned most about yourself in this time period? Like you said, it doesn't feel like 19 years. So from the day you walked through the door to where you stand right now, what can you tell me about that journey and maybe the main things you've seen evolve with yourself, or just what you've taken?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. I think when anyone comes into a brand new conference commissioner position, especially if you had some tenure as a conference staff member, the dynamics of now you're in charge and now the staff is looking to you, whereas you might have just been part of a staff and you were in on the meetings, but really you were a team member. They weren't necessarily looking at you to take the lead and all of that. And that, of course, changes immediately once you become a commissioner. And, it's a learning experience. You've got to learn how to lead. You've got to, work through your own and develop your own set of core values and how you want to direct not only a staff, but your membership as well. And, of course, the commissioner role is very important for any conference, and people are looking for direction from the commissioner, but it's a unique relationship in that the commissioner doesn't have a vote. That's up to the members of his or her conference, and but the commissioner does have an influential role in the direction a conference may take. So, certainly over time, whether it's working with a colleague like Greg or interacting with, a very accomplished group of school presidents, some very high-level, competent athletic administrators, successful coaches, and ultimately, a terrific, high-performing group of thousands of student athletes. You really learn over time, what's important here, and that is the student athletes and their opportunities. But you can't dismiss there are some other business aspects of what a conference and a conference commissioner do and the services they provide their members. And certainly you don't want to lose sight of, wanting to win and be successful competitively. But, you want to do well academically. And I think when we look back over, a number of years here, we've been very pleased and proud of the accomplishments we've made, across all aspects of what we do.
That coming here this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Cubal studios with Tom Burnett, the commissioner of the Southland Conference. You talked about the membership of the conference. Nichols, Abilene Christian, Sam Houston, Stephen F. Austin, Northwestern State, New Orleans, Lamar, UIW, Southeastern LA, McNeese, Houston Baptist, Central Arkansas, and A&M Corpus Christi. When I read these names off that make up the membership of the Southland Conference, what words come to mind to describe this membership?
Well, I would, start with something pretty basic, and that essentially is, successful. I think that's a group of schools that, may fly under the radar, with some people, but, these are institutions that are really focused on that student-athlete accomplishment that we talked about. They want to be excellent in all they do. They want to operate with integrity. They want to be diverse and inclusive. They want to operate responsibly from a fiscal standpoint. They want their student-athletes to, be celebrated, academically. They want to be successful competitively. This is a league that in just really a 6-month period of time, because of our squeezed schedule, because of COVID, we've won an FCS national championship. We've won an NCAA basketball tournament game. We had the Walter Payton Award winner, which is the best football player in FCS. We've televised all of our football games. So there's a number of accomplishments that this group of schools has come together and, achieved. And sometimes, people may see the names on that list and think that may not be possible. But I think collectively, everyone working hard together to be successful, it's pretty amazing what you can achieve. And I think we see that all the time in our conference.
We look at the conference, we look at football this year and just everything that was affected. Bring me into navigating as the commissioner of the Southland Conference with everything that's happened with this pandemic and how much it affected, obviously, the opportunity to have a season and to do things the way you want to do. I mean, some teams went out and competed, some teams did not, some teams could play a game or two. Just what it was like overseeing this as a commissioner going through the pandemic, looking at football and how deeply that was affected. Not that other sports weren't, but specifically looking at football and the fact that everything was really put on pause at the FCS level.
Yeah, another great question, and I will tell you, it probably ranks among the highest challenges that we've had. And I don't only speak for myself. I know some other commissioners would share this, but when you look back a year ago, and you really realize we didn't know what we didn't know about the pandemic, and at that point, going into the fall of 2020, we were all planning to play football and the other sports as we planned to do. Certainly the virus didn't let go as quickly as we thought it would. It only got worse, and it created issues for all of us, not just in athletics, but across all of higher ed and across every institution and throughout our society, as we all know. So, but the effort was there to play fully in the fall. I think what got us, and maybe some others at our FCS level, was just the issue of testing and the availability, the affordability of that. And that really put, through a hurdle in our way. And ultimately, when the NCAA made a decision to move the FCS championship to the spring, then that's where you saw a lot of the FCS conferences land. There were exceptions. We had some schools that just, wanted to play in the fall. And our presidents came to an accommodation that if you wanted to play in the fall, you could, and if you wanted to play in the spring, you could. But in the spring, understand that's where the championship opportunity is. That's where the playoff opportunity is. And ultimately, most of our schools went with the spring plan. But every conference has a similar story, and it was just fraught with challenges. And ultimately, I'm just so very pleased we got some competition in. It was abbreviated. It started during cold weather and ended when it got warmer, which was strange to think about football. But then there were all the other sports as well that you've mentioned, the volleyballs, the soccers, the cross country. All of that came to the spring and got lumped onto everything else we did. And, we did it all in about a 6-month window. So, ultimately we were really pleased and proud of how our institutions put all of that together. I can only imagine the traffic they had on their campuses with all of these various championship events, sports going on at the same time. But, hey, they did it, and we're very proud of them. And I guess the last thing I would say about that is I really don't want to do that again. I want us all to get back on a normal schedule, and hopefully we can do that.
Yeah, in navigating through a pandemic, something that no commissioner, really anybody thought we would have to do. A year and a half that we've been navigating through this thing in America. What can you say about being a leader? When you're the commissioner, you're supposed to have answers to questions. People look to you as the head of the Southland Conference, and your office looks to you. The member schools look to you. These ADs and presidents and coaches and student athletes look to you. So when we're within a thing that has no answers and is fluid, how did you handle that from your seat?
Well, I will tell you, it wasn't with, perhaps a great deal of ease at times. It was always challenging. I think when we first got into the pandemic, we were probably looking at things in 2-week windows. I remember our first conversations when we unfortunately had to shut down basketball and some of our spring sports that were starting. I remember conversations that, we'd be back playing outdoor sports in April, that this was going to pass. And of course that didn't happen. It didn't come close to that. And then, the NCAA, shut everything down from their perspective. And that put us all in a very difficult position. And, again, as a commissioner, you're trying to do what's best for your collective membership. You're dealing with athletic directors who don't have answers for their coaches and student athletes. You're dealing with university presidents who, had to, on the fly, go to a remote teaching model. So there was so much uncertainty. It's kind of hard to look back and say, well, this is what guided us through this. I think there was just a great level of trust and confidence in one another that allowed us to, be flexible, be nimble when we had to, be ready to move when it was time to move, but then also have the understanding that that opportunity may not come yet. We may have to wait. And in fact, we had to wait really until November to where we really felt we had the testing under control. And to me, that was the key to everything. Once we had an availability and an affordability on COVID testing, we found a way to navigate through this. So that may have been, when we all look back on this, the thing that really kind of opened things up for us. We had to test frequently throughout all of these sports seasons, really through the NCAA basketball tournament. And, once we were able to do that, I think everybody was able to see a clearer path, at least, to success in the future. And it seems like now that's kind of where we landed. So I don't know that I take any huge credit for leadership through a pandemic. I think I was learning every day, every minute, like everyone else, but would really, say that, the key for us was a group of schools, administrators that wanted to work through it and understood there were going to be starts and stops, challenges, but there was light at the end of the tunnel, and we could see it. We just had to get to it.
Speaking here with the leader of the Southland Conference, the Commissioner Tom Burnett, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Cubal studios. Tom, like you said, just kind of taking this in spurts and knowing that there was light at the end of the tunnel. Personally, outside of just looking at your job as a commissioner, what did you learn about yourself in the past year and a half? How did you grow as Tom Burnett overall?
Yeah, you look back at it, and you realize that you probably had more patience, more tolerance, more acceptance of frustrations, some that you experienced yourself, some that were shared by others. And, I think that allowed me to grow in a sense that, you really got to put yourself in some friend that's looking at things a bit differently. People that are perhaps suffering a little bit more through this. And of course, having the full understanding that other people were much more adversely affected by the virus, either directly or with a family member. And, you just really kind of fell back on counting your blessings, taking care of your family, your friends, your staff, and really pushing that towards your membership that we got to take care of each other. We're going to get through this. And so, I just think over time, you just have a little bit more acceptance and understanding of what other, problems are out there. I think the lessons from COVID are still to be learned. So there's a lot ahead of us that we're probably not even thinking about, that we will look back on and say, hey, that was, something that I learned about myself, I got better at. And those are just a few of the things that probably come to mind here when I think back on it.
And for you, to see that, to go through that adversity, we all went through it. This world very rarely has ever gone through the exact same thing at the exact same time. How would you describe that to, your family, to the future? If you could put a message in a bottle and send it off into the ocean for somebody to find someday, what can you say about a time period in history where it didn't matter what country you were in, it didn't matter how much money you had, what your nationality was, what language you spoke, the color of your skin? It literally did not matter at all. This pandemic affected the entire world at the exact same time. How would you describe that?
Well, the only thing in my lifetime that I would probably liken it to, and it did not impact me, it was well before my time on this planet, but I can remember my grandparents talking about the Depression. I can remember my grandparents talking about, World War II. I can recall how vividly they could describe the problems and the troubles they had, whether it was the economics of the Great Depression, or it was wartime, or, that's what I would liken this to, is that, we all experience something. I don't want to trivialize war or, the economic hardships that our ancestors had, but then, it may be the experience we tell our grandchildren and their children in the future. Hopefully, we don't have to experience something like that again. Although, hopefully, I would say that also that the recovery, health and otherwise, is something that I hope worldwide we all experience together, and we continue to rebound. So, those are some things that come to mind on that I can remember in my lifetime. But, as Americans, we all had an experience with 9/11 that's a little bit different than a worldwide incident. And then, people from around the world have their own experiences. But, that's what I would liken it to, maybe just from my experiences.
Yeah, come in here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Commissioner of the Southland Conference, Tom Burnett, here with us today on the show. And Tom, before I let you go, a few other points here. The men's basketball side of things, Abilene Christian and Stephen F. Austin, watching teams from afar. I know different teams have made the tournament, but Stephen F. Austin just a few years ago had a pretty nice run, and Abilene Christian wasn't a Division I school team, just a little bit ago. I mean, they went from D2 to D1 and had only been to the tournament one other time in 2019. They got their first win this time around, and they did it against another team in the state of Texas. So a lot to the story of Abilene Christian. They were a D2 school, became a D1 school recently, go to the tournament, get their first win this season as we go through this pandemic. And just about 4 hours away, they do it against the team at University of Texas from the Big 12, which is right there in Austin, Texas. So, I mean, there's a lot of story to this and a lot of beauty to the Southland Conference for, having representation and then having Abilene Christian do it against another Texas team in the quote-unquote Power 5 and to be a newly donned Division I school to have their first ever NCAA tournament victory be against a storied program like Texas.
Yeah, terrific stories, absolutely. But I think as we go back and look at our history, I think we've always found a way to be competitively successful, whether it's at the level of football we play or, making progress, like you mentioned, in the men's basketball tournament, ultimately winning games into that tournament can completely alter, not only an institution's reputation, and people now start to think of Stephen F. Austin as a basketball school. They see Abilene, they all remember that, and the incredible win over the flagship university in their own state. So, but we've always pointed to there was the opportunity for competitive success. Starts with presidential leadership, board leadership. They want to be successful in what they do. They don't have the most resources available to them, but they do have the opportunity and to work best with the resources that they do have, to be creative, to be innovative, and hire good coaches. And good coaches hire good student athletes that work hard. And that Abilene Christian team was as scrappy as any team I've ever seen. And to go up against a team that's full of future NBA players was a pretty amazing sight to see. And certainly we're very proud of that. But we think there's always stories like that in our conference, and it's something that we have a history of and plan to continue to do.
And that success and seeing that in the Southland Conference and seeing that representation, when you get those moments, when those moments happen, and people look to, okay, who are these schools? Where are they from? What conference are they a part of? When those moments happen, obviously they're special. But as we move forward, what should people know about the Southland Conference? How should we view your conference to not just see it for these moments where, okay, this might be an upset or that might be an upset, but to really see it throughout the year? How would you describe the conference, and what should we know about the Southland Conference that maybe people don't readily know?
Yeah, I think that, again, this is a league that really focuses on, the full student-athlete success. That can be a little bit of a cliche, but it is important. And I think that a real devotion of our members to do what's best for those student athletes that have committed to their athletic programs. I think the things here in the Southland as well that have really helped us, will continue to help us in the future, is the geographic proximity we have had to each other. We're close together. Our league has, really resided in 2 or 3 states throughout its history. That proximity, we think, helps competitive success. We think it helps academically because student athletes can get back to campus quicker, back into the classroom, working on their degree program. So that's very important as well. And then I think the other thing that our conference just does a wonderful job of is we've got terrific student athletes that are very active with community service and have proven over time, just terrific things in their communities, charitable opportunities for youngsters, Habitat for Humanity, just other terrific donations of their time and resources. And just at the end of the day, I think our student athletes walk away with a very good, well-rounded experience, having competed in this conference. And ultimately, what we hope is that leads to lifelong success for them. And I think when we talk to coaches and our alums and former players, all of that, I think they really cherish their time in the Southland Conference, the rivalries, the success beyond the conference, and all the wonderful things they do in their communities, and just the academic success they have that leads to that lifelong success. So that's what really sticks with me.
Kind of going off of that, what does it mean to be Southland strong? When I see that, obviously it's something that you utilize on your promotions here. What is Southland strong?
That can be anything and everything. That started as kind of a, buzzword, kind of a hashtag back in the early days of Twitter and other social media. And we had a little bit of fun with it. We didn't really realize what it was, other than, could we have a quick phrase when we do something really good athletically? What we didn't really see and was how it just took off. Our schools really latched onto it, and anytime they did anything special, athletically, academically, otherwise, they were throwing around the hashtag Southland Strong. So it kind of grew a bit organically as just a quick phrase in our social media. Then it turned into a whole publicity program, and you may have seen the mark, and we do PSA television commercial type things where our student athletes proclaim that they are Southland strong, and it has been really rewarding to see that grow like it has. And I think we even won some public relations group gave us an award for it back in the early days of social media. So Southland Strong is anything and everything good that occurs, and we're really proud of how that's taken off. And we've seen some other conferences try to come up with their own phrasing as well, and we salute them on that, and just remember that we may have been one of the first ones to do something like that.
I like that. A little reminder to the rest of the country. So, best part of being a commissioner and most challenging part?
Well, I would tell you that the best part is the people you get to work with. You work for, a very accomplished group of university presidents who are interested in conference-wide success. They fully understand the greater good of the conference, as well as those accomplished athletic directors, their staffs, some really great coaches, and ultimately their student athletes. That kind of gets you excited every day, is the people you get to work around. Of course, we've got a great staff here that I love to help and lead, assist in any way I can, whether it's helping them grow the conference or even them grow personally and professionally. Certainly the challenges I think that are shared by many. Sometimes those are resource-based. There are some challenges, and how big your budgets are and all of that. But that may lead to a problem here or there, but the challenge of overcoming those problems is something that keeps me energized and keeps me coming back for more. And, there will continue to be challenges. That's one thing we can be sure of.
And you spoke about sitting in a prominent role for men's basketball. I wanted to go into that a little bit deeper, just what you get to do beyond being the Southland Conference Commissioner, what you get to do for, men's basketball. in general in the country to have representation and to have a seat at the table.
Yeah, it's a great honor and privilege, to serve in this role. This will be my fifth and final year on the men's basketball committee here in 21-22. And it's everything you might expect it to be in that room with, just a terrific group of colleagues, leaders from our enterprise from around the country. There are 12 committee members now, and again, very high-level athletic directors and conference commissioners that I get the opportunity to work with and learn from all the time. And then just to be involved with March Madness, the Final Four, helping determine the future of that event. There simply hasn't been, many gratifying experiences as, you can have serving in that role, leading what is, an event that's so important to the entire enterprise of Division I and all of the NCAA. And of course, we had to do it a little bit differently this year in the controlled environment of Indianapolis. But in the end, we were, so gratified that we were able to get through it. And another one of those things, you don't want to do it that way again. And hopefully we can get through a regular 14-site men's basketball tournament with a great Final Four in New Orleans next April. So a terrific experience, and just very honored to be included with that group.
And a final piece here for you, Tom. Tom Burnett here with us from the Southland Conference, the commissioner, on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. You had mentioned at FCS Championship a decade and counting of being able to host the championship game for the FCS. Just what that's meant for the conference and just what that says about where you are and what you're doing and the footprint that you're making not only in the FCS but in the country to be the host place for such a premier game and a reputable game across the nation.
Yeah, the FCS game, obviously we play football at this level, so we have an investment in FCS football. And I think what I had identified a few years ago was there could be an opportunity to pick up that championship and really elevate the experience, the host city environment, the hotel experience for student athletes, and really try to develop kind of a bowl type week for those two participating teams. The Southland Conference by itself could not do that. We probably would not have done it had it just been on us. What we were very fortunate to do here in Frisco, Texas, was partner with a great city leadership and then a great group that owns FC Dallas and runs Toyota Stadium here in our community, that really when we approached them with the idea, they started at yes and then asked, what else can we do? And we were really able to build this great partnership and grow it and really appeal to the NCAA that they needed to come to an area that was booming as this Dallas area is, and Frisco. Frisco is very sports-centric. The Dallas Cowboys are headquartered here. The Dallas Stars are headquartered here. We have elements of Major League Baseball, the NBA, of course soccer, and now the PGA of America is moving here. So it's a very sports-focused community that we felt could really lend itself to a special football environment, and that has only grown over now the 11 years that we have hosted the game. 10 of those games have been sold out. And we've got another 5 years ahead of us on our current contract. So, we're very gratified that not only from a Southland Conference perspective, but all of FCS, we could really turn this into a long-standing event that, to me kind of mimics, maybe not to the length, but, what we do in Omaha for college baseball, what we do in Oklahoma City for college softball, what we do in Eugene for college track. I mean, this has become the place that FCS football is celebrated and where we're going to crown a champion every year.
And you had within this conference, you just finished up your annual spring meetings, and there's a lot on the table. Just whatever notes you'd like to give us on that of as the Southland Conference moves forward, membership possibilities, as well as looking at your multi-year agreement, television-wise, and name, image, and likeness, NCAA transfer rule. There's so many different things that have gone on. But what can you tell us about potential membership possibilities moving forward, as well as the rest of the climate of collegiate athletics with the Southland?
Yeah, we do have some membership change ahead of us. We've had that before, and we've adjusted as we've needed to over time with different realignments. And we've got that coming again. We're still working through that process. So no breaking news today, but, we're working on some concepts here again in our region of the country that could come to pass. And, just working very diligently with a group of school presidents and athletic directors and helping to put that together. So that's coming. You had mentioned television. We've really grown our television over time. All of our schools will be producing campus content for ESPN Digital moving forward, which has been something we've been working on for quite a while, and that will occur beginning in the coming year. So really pleased about that. This is a conference that's gone from maybe a half dozen television opportunities to over or close to 300 so far, and we expect that number to continue growing exponentially in the future. So that is out there for us as well. There's always something going on with the conference. We've got national issues such as name, image, and likeness that's going to affect all of us, certainly in Division I, if not beyond that. And, just trying to stay on top of that. There's a new transfer environment that we're all part of now and have been for a few years. But, again, lots of challenges out there for us, but opportunities as well. And that's kind of how we, want to look at the challenges we've got out there, that they're really opportunities, sometimes in disguise.
Yeah, and a beautiful thing, and we don't learn unless we have adversity. So with that being stated, Commissioner Tom Burnett of the Southland Conference here with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Cubal studios. Tom, I know it's the first time we spoke. You gave me plenty of your time, and I appreciate that and truly respect that. That doesn't go unnoticed, and I would love to have the opportunity to stay in touch and stay connected with you and have the Southland represented here on Wake Up Call again. I'd love to have you back.
Dan, it's been a pleasure. Happy to talk with you anytime. Thank you.
Coming once again here from Tom Burnett, the commissioner of the Southland Conference, here this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, as we continue our look around the country by speaking with the commissioners of these beautiful collegiate conferences, and feel so very privileged and thankful for this. It's an idea that I came up with and really fought to get it over the past week or so, and said, hey, I want to start really doing this. And the commissioners have been receptive. The conferences have been great. Their information, sports information departments have been wonderful. So thank you to all of the ladies and gentlemen that work within those around the country, and God is good. So we'll take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, plenty more coming up where sports meets life, including the SoCon being covered here today, as for the first time ever, the Southern Conference will be front and center, and so will their commissioner, Jim Schaus, will be joining us in just a little bit at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time, and then the ingredients to success will round out today's show, as it always does every single Tuesday, proudly brought to you by the wonderful Avicolli's on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York. So plenty coming up here where sports meets life, and very excited to share that with you. So stay here with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora as we continue the discussion from the Cafe Cubal studios. And while you're listening, why don't you head out to Cafe Cubal's newest location and their first ever drive-thru. Awesome stuff. Route 11 and Taft Road in North Syracuse, New York. That's Route 11 and Taft Road in North Syracuse, New York, a.k.a. the Sweetheart Corners. You will find them with their newest location and their first ever drive-thru, Cafe Cubal. Make sure you get out there for a beautiful, beautiful experience. I'm so happy I got to do it on opening day, and you can do it today.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvelange, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Hope you're all having yourselves a great morning this morning, and thank you so much for listening in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, as well as watching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You're here with us on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as on wakeupcalldt.com, where you're listening to live internet streaming radio worldwide. And live internet streaming video worldwide is on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, which is being carried as well on facebook.com/livenowdt. And of course, you have us on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. So however you're connected with the show, thank you so much for joining us where sports meets that thing called life inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Cafe Kubal coming to you with multiple locations in Syracuse, 401 South Salina Street, 208 North Townsend Street, where Kubal Co-works is also located. And you can find them on 3501 James Street, as well as 324 West Water Street, and inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital. They're out in Manlius on 343 Fayette Street, in that behemoth of a building that's got a double level for you, 2 levels of Cafe Kubal, as well as outside, and a new expanded parking lot at 343 Fayette Street, so make sure you head out there for that. And of course, the newest location that is here for us in our community, which is at the Sweetheart corners of Route 11 and Taft Road, for their first ever drive-through location, which officially opened yesterday. So head out to Cafe Kubal and go through their drive-through today. So a lot of great stuff, a lot of excitement, a lot of fun. Very excited to be here and just enjoy this week of Wake Up Call with you. So with that being stated, you heard from Tom Burnett from the Southland Conference, and coming up in just a few minutes, about 8 minutes from now at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time, we will be joined by the SoCon Commissioner, the Southern Conference Commissioner, which is celebrating its 100th year of being a conference in America, and Jim Schaus, their commissioner, will be joining us today to discuss that. So very excited to have him on the show. a lot of great stuff coming up this week. And, to go to this again and to kind of talk about it a little bit here for a minute, I feel very, very, I love what I do. And because I love what I do, I have this opportunity every day to wake up and be excited, right? Wake up and just really take it all in. And being able to share this with you is very meaningful to me, to do something that I love. So I hope that you are doing that as well. And if you're not, I hope that you will be. Because not doing what you love in your life is, I can only imagine how cold and empty that feels. Because I know, for me, that's not something that I would ever want to do. And it's not something that, I would do. I know what it's like to go to a job where you're like, this is just a job. And you should be able to and really celebrate every single day loving what you do and doing what you love. So I hope that you get to do that. And I hope that you enjoy that. And if you're not doing that right now, I hope that you will very soon. So, just some positive words this morning, because I want you, when you're listening to this show, I want you to be listening and watching Wake Up Call from a place that you really love. I want you to be listening from work and you love what you're doing, or you're with the kids or whatever it may be. Like, I want you having fun, making the most of life. And I want you to be watching and listening to this show when you are, living your best life. And that doesn't mean that every day is fantastic. It doesn't mean that days don't come with their own challenges. It means that time is precious. And time is one of those things that we can't get back. So I want you to enjoy your time and spend it wisely and do the best you can with it. And really chase your dreams. I had the dream and the aspiration of reaching out to the conferences across America. And I believed in myself. I believed in building those bonds and networking. And God has been so good. So don't ever think you can't. Don't ever think that your dreams won't come true. Pray about it. Do the best you can. And if it's meant to be yours and you give it all you got, you're going to get there. Some days it's hard to be positive. Some days it's hard to wake up and think happy thoughts. Some days, your stomach turns and your head hurts, and I want you to know that it's okay. It's okay to have those days. As long as you remind yourself that it'll get better. As long as you practice positive reinforcement. Nobody likes to have a bad day. But I put up what we talked about last week in the ingredients to success. Are you the victor or the victim of your thoughts? The victor or the victim? And, they both have the same amount of letters in the words, and they both start with VICT. But one of them helps you rise above, right, become victorious, and the other one holds you below as a victim. So what we do with our time, what we do with our mind, what we do, listen, again, it's a rainy day outside. Maybe you wanted to play tennis, you're bummed out. Or, you wanted to go on vacation to Disney this month, but you can't go until August. Or somebody cut you off in traffic. Or something just doesn't make sense in your life. Or maybe something you're trying to do is taking more time, right? And it's frustrating. My microphone this morning acted up, and a piece inside of it, thankfully we have multiple mics here in the studio because I believe God is great. And, one of the microphones that we had here in the studio, which is newer than the one that I'm on, it's, they're both same company, same brand, same microphone, just a different style. And it wasn't working. And to me, it was frustrating. It didn't make any sense. I didn't get it. Well, a piece inside of it was loose. And part of you wants to take the microphone and throw it across the room. Part of you wants to break the microphone off this thing. Part of you wants to scream and yell and rant and rave. But what I ended up doing was I Stayed in a sense of peace. I stayed calm, I should say. I grabbed my other microphone, got my other wire, plugged it in, tested it, and we're ready to go. So, life is going to challenge you. Life sometimes is not going to make sense. But you have to practice a positive mindset and be a victim, not be a victim, but be a victor of your thoughts. You have to be a victor. It's not easy. But you have to focus on the good. Focus on the good. It's so easy to focus on the negative. But you have to focus on the good. And then it becomes easier to do that. Right? Habits take 3 weeks to form. They can be positive or they can be negative. The choice is yours. But once you form a habit, it affects your entire life. So, practice good habits, be positive, and don't run away from the things that are good. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, speaking of going toward what's good, the Southern Conference Commissioner Jim Schaus will be joining us right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for the first time ever, where sports meets life. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand butter chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. That's where you are listening live. You are watching live on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt. being carried and shared on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT and, of course, on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. Very honored and privileged today as we continue our commissioners' discussions from around the country to have the SoCon Conference covered today, the Southern Conference here with Jim Schaus, the commissioner of the conference, and I'm very honored to have him here on the broadcast. You know, on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, that everybody's story matters, every conference matters, every player and coach that wants to have a voice out there, and whoever's connected to the sports world and beyond has a place here on the show. So Jim being able to be here today for the SoCon means the world to me, because it means that we get to expand out to more schools, more institutions, more teams, more student athletes and coaches, more staff, and of course, we get to tell Jim's story. So with that being said, let's bring him in. Mr. Schaus, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Dan. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. And so bring me into the SoCon. Why become the commissioner here? What was it when you look back on it? Why did you feel that this was a good place to lead and that this job would challenge you?
Well, I've been an athletic director for 20 years, 9 years at Wichita State and 11 at Ohio University, and I enjoyed being an athletic director. And this opportunity came up to be a conference commissioner. It kind of caught my eye for several reasons. One, my father, Fred Schaus, who had coached West Virginia back in the 50s, also ended up coaching the Lakers and Purdue in his career. The West Virginia was in the Southern Conference in the 50s. And so that goes back to Jerry West and Hot Rod Hundley, and was in the 59 national championship game. And so that meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to my father. I remember seeing those Southern Conference trophies when we lived in Los Angeles. And so that was very important to my father. It's a great league. We're celebrating our 100th anniversary. 1921 is when our league founded. We have the oldest men's basketball tournament, postseason tournament in the country. So a lot of heritage and tradition have been to this area before. Our offices are in Spartanburg. We've got basically all of our schools are in the southeast, so enjoy the area very much. And so I just thought it would be a great change to utilize some of my experience to be a commissioner, and I've absolutely loved it.
You know, and this decision coming very recently here within the last couple of years. So, you know, coming from Wichita State as an AD and Ohio as an AD, to take on the Southern Conference that's so rich in the history of collegiate athletics, why was this the right time within the last couple of years to elevate yourself to such a position?
You know, I don't know if I have a great answer for that. I had really enjoyed being on the campuses, and I think there's some things about being a conference commissioner that are unique. The opportunity to deal with major NCAA legislation, really dealing with what happens in college athletics at probably a 40,000-foot level at times. And it's something that when you're an AD, you can only see sometimes 6 inches in front of yourself. And it's been interesting to me to be able to be a part of discussions about major issues in college athletics that I've not been able to do. You get to work with 10 institutions in our case, and that's fun. It's not just one institution. You get to be a part of that. I travel to see games and really involved in all aspects academically, athletically with our institution. So a different perspective, and I've really enjoyed it.
You know, and having this, what have you learned in the last couple of years of taking over as a commissioner of a conference? What has it taught you? I mean, obviously, a pandemic has been through a good portion of it. But, you know, overall, before we talk about kind of navigating through unprecedented times of the pandemic, what have you learned about the life of a commissioner that you didn't know going into it? Like, how have you evolved as a human being and as a commissioner?
Yeah, the jobs have some similarities, but there's quite a few differences. As an athletic director, you really need a lot of different types of skills. The job is often very external because you're raising money, very heavy in personnel because you have a larger staff. The commissioner's position is more administrative, more shared governance, meaning you're not making decisions on your own like you're used to as an AD. You got to check with a lot of different groups among your presidents, athletic directors, senior women administrators, and your faculty athletic representatives. So that part is different. Smaller staff. A conference office really deals a lot with for its members, putting together regular seasons, your officiating, your television packages, which we worked in and have new television packages. You're dealing with your championships. So people join a conference because they want to have conference championships. So we put on 22 championships this past. I think that there is certainly differences, and yet I've really embraced that and enjoyed those differences.
We look at the history of the Southern Conference, speaking here with its commissioner, Jim Schaus, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Cubal studios. Looking at this, the Alabama, Technical Institute of Auburn, Clemson, Georgia, the Georgia School of Technology, Georgia Tech, Kentucky, Maryland, Mississippi A&M, which is now Mississippi State, North Carolina State, Tennessee, Virginia Polytech Institute, which is now Virginia Tech, Washington, and Lee. When you look through this history and what the Southern really was, when there weren't many conferences and the country was only split up into a few different places, what do you think about now that, obviously the membership schools are different and times have evolved and changed, but do you feel the weight of that? Do you feel the history of that? As the commissioner, do you feel, like you said, celebrating 100 years from 1921 to 2021, do you feel that? Because the Southern is really part of the fabric of what was like the origination of collegiate athletics.
Yes, I really appreciate and acknowledge our heritage. We're the third oldest conference under the same name, under continuous membership. As you mentioned, you've got a lot of SEC and ACC schools that have been past members. There's great names like Arnold Palmer and Seth Curry, and just all kinds of, I could go on and on with great teams and moments. We've had that, and yet at the same time, we're celebrating our current 10 institutions that are very unique. We have 2 military institutions in VMI and the Citadel, which is unique in addition to public and private schools. There's just a really strong history athletically and academically with our league. And today's obviously composition is different than it was 30, 40, 50 years ago. But I think our heritage is very, very important to us. It's something that we're celebrating right now during our 100th anniversary.
And in this 100th anniversary, what has it consisted of? Speaking here with the commissioner of the SoCon, Jim Schaus, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Cubal studios. What has the 100 years been? What is the focus from 1921 to 2021? What are you really trying to do in the celebration of this? What does it entail?
Well, we created a new logo. And so our 100th anniversary logo that is really branding everything from the time period, which was basically last fall all the way through this upcoming December. And so that's been everything. That's replaced our traditional logo for that time period of time. We have done a lot of we've done videos. We have a commercial. We'll do a long form video, a lot of promotion at our events. We've also done some publicity and highlighted some of our great moments. We will also, before we're done, we'll pick, our all-time teams and those types of things to kind of bring recognition of our great heritage that we have. We've a lot of gear and changes, logos that are part of championship uniforms, things like that. So we're really trying to brand the conference and then talk about how special our conference has been. And, we did hit the pandemic right down the middle with it, but beginning this fall, we'll have a chance with, really full audiences to be able to participate and see those things.
Yeah, and seeing that, kind of navigating through these unprecedented times, leading right into that, how have you done that as a commissioner, and what can you say you've learned about this? Going through a pandemic that nobody was prepared for, seeing the people affected, the families affected, the amount of people that have passed away. Navigating through these unprecedented times amidst all of the, health of it all and the wellness of it all, and trying to make sure people are okay. you also have to oversee a conference and you have to answer questions that you never thought you'd have to answer and try to navigate through that. So how have you, and what can you say about these unprecedented times?
Well, I've learned that this is probably something that we don't want to have to ever go through again.
Yeah.
We really had to stick together as a conference, that we really had to communicate. I think I was having weekly meetings with athletic directors instead of monthly, which is our traditional time frame. We knew that there was going to be some challenges. We had to work with the NCAA in identifying COVID protocols. So we had protocols for all of our student athletes and teams. We anticipated that there would need to be some changes in the fall when it really hit. And so we moved our fall sports, including football, to the spring. So that was something very different. We spent a lot of time dealing with testing, supporting testing for our championships with our officials. And then the schools obviously spent a lot of resources and time in working with COVID guidelines that were approved by the conference about how to be safe. And it was a great challenge. It was frustrating, for sure. It was very costly, a lot of time. We had a great compression of our sports in the spring because we moved fall on top of those. So I think the schools and my staff with championships really had a double dose at times. But yet, after all of that, we still provided opportunities for student athletes to compete. We completed all of our regular seasons and championships, and all of our sports were able to bring forth an automatic qualifier to the NCAA championships this year. And so those are important goals for us. I certainly think that, we learned to stay together and communicate and work through, which was oftentimes decisions that were made week to week and day to day. There was no playbook for this. There was nothing to go back and say, here's how you do all these things. And so it was just a lot of communication and working through a few issues and challenges. Certainly had our share of cancellations. So we spent a lot of time rescheduling in our conference office. And we're able to get through it. And glad that we're sitting here talking in June with all of our sports completed. And our spring meetings done, to be able to look back on this year and say, I'm amazed that we got this far. If you would have told me last summer that we were able to accomplish all the things that we were able to do, I would have been very surprised. And so we're really thankful and blessed that we're able to do that.
And how difficult was that, Jim, to go through, and have to, scheduling has been somewhat of a nightmare, and, things could change at the drop of a hat. And, and so many different pieces of collegiate athletics. Every single fiber of everything was affected. So how did you handle that? The fact that, this game could get canceled, this game could get postponed, this season's going to get moved to the spring, we're going to put this over here, we're going to try to make sure this doesn't compete with this. Following all these moving pieces, the etch-a-sketch of this past year and a half, what can you say about all that?
Well, we really had to, again, communicate and work together with our membership, our schools, and we had to put together policies in place that was approved, how we were going to handle that. We talked about, with COVID situations, that the conference would follow up and ensure that we were following the policies. So we had, minimum number of athletes that had to be available for a given sport in order for them to realistically compete. We had to change some of our tie-breaking rules to go more towards winning percentage and who plays in those games versus kind of a traditional just head-to-head decision, because some school might pay 30-40% less in a given year. There was discussions, is this team really able to play or not? And how do we work through that in a very short period of time, and then communicate. Sometimes with ESPN on television had to be adjusted, with our opponents on a short-term basis. And we had examples where teams were in a bus that were, an hour out from playing, and then positive test information came back and they weren't able to play. They turned right around and came back. So there was just things that, that were challenging and frustrating, but we found a way to get through it. We adopted approaches, with our schools each step of the way. I can't tell you there wasn't any bumpy roads in it, because there certainly were a few. But I think we worked together and got through it.
Yeah, and I commend you for that, and I commend, the leaders all across this country for navigating and working through this. How do you become a better individual? We talk about the commissioner's seat, but, what kind of helped you get through it? Because staying mentally tough through all this has been extremely important, and, mental health and taking care of yourself and staying positive, especially when people are like shut in their house and there's not a lot of answers to questions and whatnot. And how did you personally deal with that? How did you deal with kind of all of the things that anybody in any walk of life had to navigate through, which was not being able to see your loved ones. If you see them, you can't see their smile. You got to do a lot of FaceTiming and Zoom calls, and I don't think anybody knew what Zoom was 2 years ago, but they do now. So, I mean, how did you personally get through all this?
Well, I think with any challenge in my life, my Christian faith in Christ buoyed any issue I think that I've ever had. And not that I didn't have some tough nights, tough days, but a lot of prayer and strength from the Lord really helped me personally a lot. And we worked together, our staff, tried to help one another through it. We were working virtually. That's not easy when you rarely are getting a chance to see people face to face. And also the membership. When you're not seeing people face to face and dealing with things on Zoom, I think that emotions get a little tenser. You don't really have a chance to build that rapport. And that's one of the things that was most difficult for me. I actually did make a trip to all of our campuses in the fall, and it was all socially distanced and masked and all those things. But at least we got a chance to see people. We didn't do as much travel to games this past year. So, yeah, I think it was just one of those things that for everybody in athletics, all the commissioners were on regular calls. I was on 3 to 4 commissioner calls a week, all sharing, benchmarking. What are you doing about this? How are you handling that? And I thought that was very helpful to me as a relatively new commissioner to be able to get feedback on how other conferences are handling it. So I think that we, kind of as a fellowship worked together and got through it. So I certainly had a lot of help and thankful for that.
Jim Schaus here with us this morning up from the SoCon, hanging out on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, the commissioner of the conference here inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. You mentioned Wichita State as the AD there and the AD at Ohio as well. What main components, now looking back, hindsight 2020, what did you take the most from those jobs, or maybe another job that you could pull from as well, to make you successful as a commissioner? And I know that's, some people don't like talking about themselves and stay humble in it, but when you look at yourself and things that you look in the mirror and say, okay, I feel like I'm doing this right, where do you pull from your history to be successful at the SoCon?
Yeah, I think everybody, garners certain things from their past, and some of it's personal and some of it's professional. My time as an AD certainly allowed me to be comfortable in knowing what higher education is like. So I worked for a college president for 20 years. I know what the AD's role is. So when we're talking about various things in our meetings and discussions with our athletic directors, I've been an athletic director, so I know what their issues are. I hired SWAs and worked with faculty athletic representatives. I hired coaches, worked with student athletes, dealt with fans, know a lot of the issues that athletics is dealing with on the campus. So I would say that's one of the most important things that helped me, is that I walked a mile in a lot of their shoes and at least experienced some of the things that they experienced, and they were aware of that I had success at that level. So the people I work for now, so I think that was very helpful. We had a lot of success at Wichita State building programs based on a lot of facilities, and was able to hire Mark Turgeon and Greg Marshall during my time in basketball, and had a lot of success there, and had a lot of success in football. Went to 9 bowl games in 11 years that I was there, and we did get to a Sweet 16 in both schools, so had success. And so learning how to have success is something that you can occasionally share. But again, certainly the day-to-day regimen of a commissioner's job is different, though. And it's taken me a little while to realize, that the shared governance component how busy the folks are on campus, so to be respectful of that, and to really be organized. I spent a lot of my time preparing for meetings and calls and thinking long-term structure about things that are in our purview as a conference.
And when you look at this conference and what it's comprised of, you mentioned, some of the schools prior to, but the Citadel, as well as East Tennessee State, Furman, Mercer, Samford, University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, University of North Carolina at Greensboro, VMI, the Virginia Military Institute, Western Carolina, and Wofford. What can you say when I mention those 10-member schools? What does it make you think of? What's top of mind to you when you think about the institutions that comprise the SoCon?
Great history, diversity institutionally, and balance. Just impressive. We're a conference that in men's basketball was 9th out of 32 conferences in the RPI and 10th in the NCAA net, have been around 13 the last number of years. So we're a national level men's basketball conference. I think about just the academic reputations of our institutions, successes that we've had in different sports, and the history of those schools. You got a lot of schools are all founded in, not all, but many in the 1800s, and just that we get along. We're unique. All of our schools go to every one of our championships, which is unique in our business. So, it just, all the things that, great heritage, but also even with some of the schools that haven't been in the league that long, just real proud to be associated with them.
And you talk about that. You mentioned men's basketball. There's what I've seen in my coverage of men's basketball at the D1 level, really at all levels, but looking at D1 across this country, UNC Greensboro, Wofford, Chattanooga, ETSU, Mercer. So, it's not that you have one that's just making a play inside of the NCAA tournament. There's a bunch of teams that have done it. And what can you say to that? The fact that it's not a fluke for these teams to be competitive. It's in the fact that, what does it say about your conference that multiple teams throughout history, it's not like one team every single year is winning your conference tournament. It's consistently changing, and then they get into the NCAA tournament and they're not making life easy for other teams. So what does that mean? That not only do you have representation, but that your representation is ever changing. When we look at something like Division I men's basketball and what these teams have been able to do to, strike and to not only go up against each other and push each other, but then to go into the NCAA tournament and to try and make a splash as well.
Yeah, I would say the last 5 or 6 years has really been a resurgence of men's basketball. We've had some great coaches. I think that's a very important point that has helped us be successful. A couple of years ago when Wofford was ranked in the top 15 nationally, they won our tournament. They would have been in. They would have been in at large if they wouldn't have won our tournament. 2 years ago, East Tennessee State won our tournament. I think they would have been a likely candidate to be an at large. So getting multiple teams in, sometimes it's just been, we haven't had the luck of the draw and how things have worked out. But frankly, we beat each other up a lot. And it's very difficult for mid-majors to get great non-conference games instead of just having to play on the road at Duke and Kentucky. So that's a challenge. That's a great challenge for mid-majors to be successful because I spent several years on the men's basketball committee, and you're looking for a resume that shows quality wins. So we do have a lot of balance. I think we're going to have 4 or 5 teams that could all win our league next year. I couldn't tell you who that might be. I even though we had a few coaching changes this last year, I think the conference has continued just to move forward, continue to recruit and be excellent. We just have not had a lot of national television in our package. We've kind of averaged about 1 or 2 a year in terms of just 2 SoCon teams against each other. And beginning next year, we'll have 13 nationally televised games where SoCon teams are playing each other. That's in addition to when our teams might be playing in non-conference games on national television. So I think that we've been great regardless of not having super strong national television branding. And now through ESPN and CBS Sports Network, we're going to have some linear television that I think will take us to the next level.
Yeah, and putting that together, like you said, not having a lot of, television spots and opportunities. How did you evolve that? What did you do to really make sure that the SoCon was going to be included? What did you have to put together in a package to sell the fact that, hey, you know what, we deserve to be on TV, we want to be carried? How did you build that in and have that progressive movement where it wasn't just a comment or a statement that you wanted, but it was actually something that you're going to see come to fruition?
I think our success really led the way with that. The fact that we've been highly competitive, and I think with television knowing our markets and our history, also seeing that we are one of the better mid-major conferences in the country in men's basketball, I think that helped us a lot. I think we were due. And so I think it was a combination of those things. We've tried very hard to, share our brand when we didn't have the television to the best of our ability. But I think on a national scale, there's not a substitute for that. And even though we've had good rankings in terms of our performance, I think that will help us also. And I think in that committee room, when committee members are more familiar with us, media is more familiar with us on a national level, it's not just kind of a one-off when Wofford has an undefeated regular season, but something that can be can really help us move up to that next level.
That coming from the commissioner of the SoCon, Jim Schaus, here with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Cubal studios. Jim, before I let you go here, as we move forward, what should people know about this conference from the annual meetings? What did you take away? Is there anything that you can give us here to let us know kind of maybe where you're heading, what you really are focused on at this point? With these 10 member institutions and stepping forward out of the annual meeting, what should we know about the SoCon at this point?
Well, we've developed a strategic plan that really outlines what our priorities need to be, and to continue to grow in high-profile sports like men's basketball, football, and a variety of other sports to help elevate where we are, to make academics important on our campuses, and also with our conference. We have an undergraduate research forum. We'll have an entrepreneurship competition with students, not just student athletes. So academics matters to our conference. We're a unique conference with some unusual diversity in our institutions. And I think that, the exposure of our league is going to continue to grow. And I think more people will understand the things that we know about the Southern Conference on a national scale.
And having this opportunity stepping forward for the Southern Conference, definitely looking forward to it. 100 years, a remarkable piece of it all. And I know that you never get to do this as a commissioner or as an AD, so I want to offer you this, and it's twofold here. It's called Rapid Fire on the show. It gives me the opportunity to let somebody put me on the hot seat. Commissioners and athletic directors are always being asked the questions. I would like to turn the table and, Jim, give you the opportunity, either sports or life-related, literally anything. You can ask me any two questions in the world, and I have to answer them. And I might be the only person that ever lets you ask the question. So I hand you the microphone right now and open it up to you to put me in a situation in rapid fire where I have to answer the questions instead of the commissioner for a couple minutes.
Wow, Dan, you kind of caught me off guard there. I don't know if I have anything that's too amazing for you there. Are you a hamburger or hot dog guy?
I've never been asked that question in 18 years of broadcasting, almost 18 years of broadcasting. So if I had to choose, which I did have to do on Memorial Day, I would say that I'm more of a hamburger guy than a hot dog guy. I'm very choosy. I come from Central New York, and Hyde's has our Hoffman hot dogs and going to Hyde's and all that, they taste better than any other place. And so, I'm kind of a snob when it comes to that, I guess. But I would choose a hamburger over a hot dog.
Okay, then I'll give you one in-depth question.
Okay.
What's the most memorable moment of your life?
I don't think I've ever been asked this question either. There's a reason why you're a commissioner. I would say the most memorable moment of my life. Well, I think there's a couple that haven't.
Other than this interview.
Other than this one, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Other than speaking to the Southern on their 100th anniversary, I would say that a few of them are yet to come. I always think the best is ahead of me. So, being able to be a husband to someone that truly loves me and being a father, those are two things that I'm sure will be on this list. But I will tell you that I'll pick two things, and they're kind of broad scope. My grandfathers passed away when I was 6. They both passed away in 1992. Crazy year in my life. I realized in hindsight as an adult that there's so much music and movies that I love from 1992 that I never knew came out in 1992 because I wasn't paying attention. So I would say every moment I spent with my grandfathers, because I only had 6 years here on earth, and you're a man of faith, and I respect and I love and appreciate that, because I am a strong person of faith as well, and I believe that I will see them again, and my job is to get back there. So I would say any moment with them is the most memorable. And I would say living with my grandmother. When she needed some help, I moved in with her for 2 years, and she's the best roommate I ever had. So I would definitely say that my time with my grandparents is extremely important. My other grandmother as well, being able to just love her up and see her smile. So I would probably say my time with my grandparents, because I know what it's like to not physically have them here. And so I think anybody who has grandparents really needs to call them and appreciate them and just love them and spend as much time with them as they possibly can.
That sounds like good answers when you're talking about the importance of family. Things come and go. Life is short. So it sounds like you've answered well.
Coming from Jim Schaus. You didn't know that you were going to get to ask the questions, but I love the questions that you asked. And Jim, I know this is the first time we've spoken on the show, but as we've opened up to the Southern Conference here and your rich history and moving forward, I would love the opportunity to have you back on if you'd like to come back.
Sure. Sounds great. Absolutely. I'll be ready for those next 2 questions maybe.
All right, fair enough. And I appreciate everything that you're doing there. And obviously, God bless as always. I hope you stay safe, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate it very much. You have a great day.
Coming again, one time here for Jim Schaus, the SoCon Southern Conference Commissioner, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for the first time ever inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. I want to thank Jim Schaus as well as the entire SoCon for helping this to become a reality. And with that being said, we'll take a step aside. Speaking of reality, we'll talk about our realities next on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Ingredients to Success, proudly brought to you by Avicolli's on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York. Get in touch with them by going to myavicollis.com. They're open for Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks, so open here today. And go grab some lunch from Avicolli's today and grab some dinner, get some drinks. You can dine inside or outside on the pizza side, or you can go to the fine dining and, of course, their bar inside as well. It's like 4 different places in one at Avicolli's, so make sure you head over there today. And for takeout, delivery, and catering, call them at 315-622-5100. Once again, you can call Avicolli's at 315-622-5100. Inside the Cafe Kubal studios, we have the Ingredients to Success coming up to round out today's show right after this.
Cafe Kubal Mobile Cafe brings the cafe experience to you. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons. Inquire at cafekubal.com. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, located on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, is home to over 40 flavors with more than 200 flavors in their total wheelhouse. Sky's the limit for this sweet and savory Central New York company. Keep it local at your parties, fundraisers, wedding showers, baby showers, and more by calling 315-450-MA-PA. That's 315-450-6272 for popcorn bars with custom flavors and colors at your upcoming event. Make sure to visit them on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. And for more information, go to maandpazsnacks.com. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every time. Make sure you make your way to the Millhouse Market and download their app on the way to them at Google Play or Apple App Store. You can get everything at your fingertips, including directions from wherever you are to get to the Millhouse Market, as well as a time to pick up and everything. Contactless pay on the app. They make it so easy to connect with them, to connect with the community. And, it's to have an app that is so user-friendly really does go such a long way. And it just goes to show, and it really breeds the spirit that they have of just being welcoming, positive, and trying to bring some delight to your life today. So make sure you make your way out to the Millhouse Market for their homemade breads and desserts, quinoa bowls, rice bowls, salads, brick oven pizzas, and sandwiches named after the families that helped to settle today's Pulaski. Ingrained in our taste buds and ingrained in our community. They're open Tuesday through Saturday from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Sundays from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And you can reach them inside of their general store with local products from local companies, as well as their indoor dining and their drive-through window where you can just literally drive right up, go to the drive-through at the Millhouse Market, grab your food, and go. Keeping it simple and prospering with us in any of the times that we have here on Earth. The Millhouse Market has navigated with us, and they will continue to do so. They are a fantastic place led by fantastic leadership with Rebecca Elford, and so much more than great tasting food, but that food is incredible. So make sure you make your way out to the Millhouse Market today, 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York. And back here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. We're very happy to be here with you. Cafe Kubal located on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 208 North Townsend Street, and 401 South Salina Street. You'll also find them inside of Galisanos Children's Hospital, and you'll find them at 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York. And, of course, you can find us at the newest location, the drive-through location on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at the Sweetheart Corners. It just opened yesterday officially on June 14th, 2021, which we are very, very welcoming and appreciative to have Cafe Kubal's first ever drive-through now here in our community. So we're very spoiled with Cafe Kubal, and we love it. And we look forward to continued growth with Cafe Kubal, as well as all of our wonderful companies we're proud to work with here in our community. So with that being said, inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', giving you the list of topics for every show. We had Tom Burnett, the Southland Conference Commissioner for the first time ever. Jim Schaus, the SoCon, the Southern Conference Commissioner for the first time ever. And now we jump into the ingredients to success, proudly brought to you by Avicolli's on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York. So we give you a topic every single week, and then we give you those ingredients to success from that topic. So for this week, the ingredients to success topic is, what is your outlet? That's the topic. What is your outlet? Where do you go when you need to bring some positivity to your life? Because some of us do not have positive outlets. Some of us do not have an outlet. So what do you plug into, right? We all need an outlet. Your phone can't last forever. Your computer can't last forever. They have to, at some point, be plugged in and recharged. So think about that with yourself. What is your outlet? Where do you plug in? Where do you recharge? How do you get your energy back? Because that is something, you think about vices, right? Things that, doing drugs or, smoking cigarettes or, drinking excessively. Picture that as plugging into an outlet for 5 minutes, right? You're going to charge your battery a little bit, but it's not going to stay fully charged, right? You're going to charge it a little bit, but it's not going to stay, right? If you try to drink away your problems, what happens? When you try to drink away your problems may go away temporarily, but then they come right back. It's like plugging yourself into the outlet of drinking for 5 minutes. You plug your phone in for 5 minutes, you're going to get a little bit of a charge, but it'll eventually die, right? It's eventually not going to stay charged. You go into drugs, it's not going to stay charged forever. So, what are the positive things that you have in your life to recharge? Do you have loved ones that are constantly supportive? And I don't mean always agree with you. Do you have loved ones that are supportive, that will tell you the truth, that will not be yes men, and will help you along your way? Do you have those people? Because that's a positive, that's a positive outlet in your life. Do you go to music? Do you go on a walk? Do you play sports? Do you work out in general? Do you sing? What do you do? Do you go to the movies? What is your outlet? What do you plug into when you need to be charged? What do you plug into? Because if you're going through life and you're not plugging into anything, right? If you're going through life and you're not recharging your batteries, eventually you're going to feel defeated. You're going to feel a loss. And it's important to realize that if you don't have an outlet that you plug into, that you need to get one. You need to find one. And you need to utilize those outlets. And sometimes those outlets change, right? I used to go and talk to my grandma. Well, my grandmother's passed away, so I can't physically go and talk to her right now. I could talk to her through prayer. I believe she's up in heaven with God, so I can talk to G-Mama up there. But what outlet do you go to? Where do you go to recharge? And when you really break it down and you look at it simply as a phone, if your phone is not charged, it'll eventually die. If you don't put it on the charger, it dies. And if you do put it on the charger, how long do you keep it on? Do you let it recharge all the way, or do you take it off? And that's what I was saying, the temporary fixes, the temporary highs, right? I'm going to go get drunk, I'm going to go do drugs, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to go do that. And it's a temporary, oh, look, I feel better, but it doesn't last forever. So where do you go? What outlet do you choose? Do you pray? Do you go to church? Do you go to synagogue? Do you go to temple? What do you do? Do you go and sit down in nature? Do you take a nap? How do you recharge your battery? The ingredients to success of recharging your battery is to not recharge it on vices and not recharge it on temporary highs and not recharge it on things that are hollow, but to recharge it in a place where you can count on it. Sleep is a good thing. Prayer is a good thing. Surrounding yourself with good people who will tell you the truth is a good thing. Taking a walk is a good thing. Playing a sport, just going out and having fun, or any cardio or working out is a good thing. Watching something that makes you laugh and helps you relax is a good thing. Singing is a good thing. Right? Playing a board game is a good thing. Maybe playing a video game, shutting your brain off for a little bit. It's a good thing. Going to the movies is a good thing. But it's what we put into our bodies, right? Because then you go and say, well, what movies are you watching? What music are you listening to? Is it positive? Is it uplifting? Or does it keep you down? Are you listening to depressing music when you need to recharge your battery? Because that's just going to suck more life out of your battery. If we think of ourselves as a battery, then we'll understand the importance of recharging. And we'll also understand that different outlets that you plug into are going to give you different results. And some of them are not going to charge your battery. Some of them may take more energy from you. So think about that today. And feel free to write into the show and give me your thoughts. Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, Twitter at CallDT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. Of course, all the time on WakeUpCallDT.com. And you're listening and watching to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, where sports meets that thing called life, on Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, as well as on Wake Up Call dt.com. Plenty of ways to watch and listen throughout the week. And, of course, once those shows go live, they get moved into our archives. You could search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and find us on any one of these outlets, on Stitcher, as well as Spotify, MixLR, TuneIn, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Podbean. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on any one of these outlets. Once again, Stitcher, Spotify, MixLR, TuneIn, Podbean, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. And a special thanks to our wonderful, wonderful community of fantastic businesses here in Central and Upstate New York. And that being a Carvel DeWitt, as well as Cafe Cubal, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, Avicolli's, Honda City of Liverpool, Pizza Man, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, PB&J's Lunchbox, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, the Millhouse Market, and Ma and Pa's Kettle of Corn and Popcorn Factory. Go to maandpaspopcorn.com and use the promo code DT20. That's maandpaspopcorn.com and use the promo code DT20 for 20% off from anywhere in the country. You can order from maandpaspopcorn.com and have it delivered to you anywhere in the country, so make sure you do that today by going to maandpaspopcorn.com and using my promo code for 20% off, DT20. That's DT20, my personal promo code, available for you today and every day. So, with that being stated, I hope you have a fantastic day. Thanks again to Tom Burnett and the Southland Conference. Thank you to Jim Schaus and the SoCon Conference. And thank you to Avicolli's with the ingredients to success. We'll be back here inside the Cafe Cubal studios tomorrow morning, God willing, with plenty to bring your way. And we look forward to talking with you then. In the meantime, God bless, no stress, do your best.